Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain, and part of the tourism sector here is still reeling after the Johnson government's decision not to allow the Balearic Islands and the Canary Islands onto the UK green list. But more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel through a donation. You can see your name here. Thanks to people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now let's get into the news, and as I said, the decision last week by Boris Johnson and company not to put the Canary Islands and the Balearic Islands onto the green list is still making headlines here in Spain. And as we can see here, the recovery of tourism on the islands this summer is up in the air after the UK decision. It's beyond comprehension, somebody was quoted as saying. There were high hopes but few expectations that the British government would lift the quarantine on tourists visiting our country, especially in the Balearic and Canary Islands, two of the regions most affected by the pandemic due to their dependence on this activity. In the end, this will not be the case. At least for the next 3 weeks, Spain will remain off the list of the UK's safest destinations, a decision that represents a new blow for a sector that was hoping to recover part of what it had lost after 15 months in the red following the outbreak of the pandemic. And another headline here, Johnson's decision leaves Spain without 3.8 million tourists this summer. In about 3 weeks, on the 28th of June, Boris Johnson's government will rethink having removed the whole of Europe, including Spain, from its list of safe destinations. Part of the tourism sector, which yesterday burned with fury at the latest restrictions imposed by the British government, is relying on this change of criteria. If the border closure is not reversed, the losses for our country will be very large. In fact, the forecast that tourism federations and associations such as the Excel Tour Alliance have been handling until now have been to recover 50 to 60% of the British market in 2019, the last pre-pandemic year, when just under 6.5 million tourists arrived. So the decision, according to some people, beyond comprehension, and if the situation doesn't change in 3 or 4 weeks' time when the Johnson government again revises that list, the losses for Spain, as we saw there, will be very, very large, not only in places like the Balearic Islands or the Canary Islands, but places in Alicante and Andalusia too. So the question now is what will happen on the 28th of June regarding British tourism in Spain this year. Now, on the topic of some of the different rules and regulations we still have in place here in Spain, there's some good news, and it is that there will no longer be curfews in any of the autonomous communities as of next week. And as we can see from this headline, Valencia is the only part of Spain that still has a curfew. The Valencian community will cease this Tuesday to be the only territory in Spain that maintains the curfew. The region has been under severe restrictions for many months and was one of the few that maintained the curfew and important measures on leisure and hospitality after the end of the state of alarm on the 9th of May. It was accompanied by the Balearic Islands until a few days ago when the Supreme Court annulled its curfew. The Valencian Premier, Ximo Puig, has maintained tough restrictions with the aim of attracting British tourism in the summer, but the UK has closed the door on that too. So the Valencian community, the only part of Spain that still maintains a curfew, will be dropping that rule next Tuesday, and that, as I said, will mean that Spain is now curfew free for the first time since last October or November. Now, the bad news about British tourism here in Spain this summer has been compensated by the fact that the country is going to open to tourism from outside the European Union on the 7th of June, and this has now been made official and published in the State Gazette. As we can see from this headline, fully vaccinated and antigen tested, new entry requirements for Spain. Spain has detailed the requirements for access to the country as of Monday. Passengers who have completed the full course of a COVID vaccine approved by the European Medicines Agency or the World Health Organization 14 days prior to travelling will be allowed to enter the country. However, there will be some exceptions for India, Brazil and South Africa. In addition, for travel already permitted for justified cause or leisure, with those from a European country and a dozen third countries that are required to have a negative diagnostic test, antigen tests will be valid. So there we go. If you're planning to come to Spain from outside the European Union, remember that you have to have completed your vaccination with one of the vaccines authorised by those two bodies that we just saw there 14 days prior to travel. And if you're coming into Spain from an EU country or one of the approved third countries, you'll need to provide an antigen test. Now, the Health Ministry here in Spain has also made official the new restrictions on nightlife this year. And as we can see here, there will be restrictions on the hotel and catering trade and nightlife. The official State Gazette has published the Ministry of Health's order on the new restrictions on the hotel and catering trade and the conditions for reopening nightlife. Despite the fact that these measures were approved without unanimity in the Interterritorial Health Council, and with the votes against from Madrid, the Basque Country, Catalonia, Galicia, Andalusia and Murcia, Catalina Darias, Minister of Health, has reminded that they are obligatory, and the restrictions are as follows. Opening hours until 2 a.m, extendable to 3 a.m. Drinks and food, both indoor and outdoor areas, shall be consumed seated at tables, and a minimum of 1.5 metres between chairs at different tables shall be maintained at a safe distance. The maximum seating capacity inside the premises may not exceed 50%. The outdoor terraces of these establishments may occupy the total number of tables permitted, always ensuring the aforementioned distance between tables. Tables will have a limit of 6 people indoors and 10 people outdoors. So keep those restrictions in mind should you be planning a night out with family and friends here in Spain this summer. Now, a new variant of COVID-19 has reared its ugly head here in Spain, and Madrid health officials are concerned about the Colombian variant. It could cause problems with vaccines. The Deputy Minister of Public Health of Madrid, Antonio Zapatero, has appeared at a press conference to analyse the epidemiological situation and the new restrictions in the community of Madrid, together with Elena Andradas, the new Director of Public Health. During his speech, he said that they are continuing to analyse the different variants of COVID-19 in Madrid. Zapatero expressed concern about the presence of other variants of the coronavirus, such as the Colombian variant, which could cause problems with the COVID-19 vaccine. So another variant of COVID-19, the Colombian variant, and we add this to the list of other variants, for example, the South African variant, the Brazilian variant, the Indian variant, the British variant of COVID-19 that have caused problems up until now. Now let's have a look at a summary of the health situation here in Spain. We can see that the accumulated incidence rate for the last 14 days is now down to 117. We can see that there are currently 4,135 people hospitalised with COVID around the country. There are 1,163 COVID patients in ICUs. When it comes to the vaccination campaign, we can see that 21.62% of the population have completed their vaccinations, around 10.2 million people, and 40.12% of the population have received at least one dose, in other words, just over 19 million people. Now, if you're living here in Spain and worried about these new electricity tariffs and an increase in your electricity bill, you might have contemplated putting the washing machine on in one of the off-peak slots, for example, from 12 midnight to 8 a.m. But you might have to rethink that decision depending on where you are, because some cities in the country have now made it illegal to turn your washing machine on or make similar noises during that time. As we can see here, the cities in which it is forbidden to use washing machines in the cheapest periods of the new electricity tariffs. The new electricity bill by time slots has established cheaper electricity consumption bands. Thus, of the 3 time slots, the one that offers the greatest savings is the off-peak slot from 12 midnight to 8 a.m. and at weekends. However, running electrical appliances such as washing machines or dishwashers in the early hours of the morning can be a nuisance for neighbours. In some cities such as Barcelona, Cuenca, Castellón or Zaragoza, municipal ordinances prohibit the operation of washing machines or dishwashers during the off-peak hours of the new electricity tariff due to the noise they cause. And if we have a look at a graphic of these new time slots, we can see the green time slot when it's cheapest to use appliances. In the middle, we can see time slots with intermediate prices. And on the right, we have what's known as hora punta, and that's when you pay the most for electricity here in Spain. And I'll leave a link to that graphic in the comment section below so that you can try to avoid those peak times. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Jamie. Can I just point out that to the British government, the Balearics and the Canaries are nothing more than areas of Spain and not individual countries. For them it would be like Spain trying to make special rules for Wales, for instance. I can't understand Spanish ignorance of this fairly obvious fact. Yeah, Jamie, thanks for the comment. I don't know whether it's Spanish ignorance, because I read in some English papers last week that the British government were in fact contemplating allowing the Balearics and the Canaries onto that green list because they are not part of mainland Spain and there are direct flights from the UK to those islands, and people do not need to stop in mainland Spain in order to get there. And I think it is possible to set up a special travel corridor with those two parts of Spain. And the main difference with the example that you give there is that Wales is not an island, but the Balearics and the Canaries are. So perhaps not the best comparison. One here from Zexel. What are the EMA approved vaccines? Yeah, Zexel, thanks for the comment. The EMA approved vaccines, as far as I know, are the Pfizer vaccine, AstraZeneca vaccine, the Moderna vaccine and the Janssen vaccine. Those are the 4 vaccines approved by the EMA currently. And we also saw earlier that they are allowing vaccines approved by the WHO as well. But I don't know if the WHO list differs to the EMA list. One here from Robert: we are in Murcia and have been vaccinated, but there is currently no mechanism to show proof of vaccination for those that aren't subscribed to the Spanish National Health System, which apparently is added to your medical number. Various forms to fill in that are available are not currently working here. The Spanish government is asking for global travellers to visit Spain provided they have been vaccinated 14 days prior to this, and I would expect they will need some form of proof, yet they are not providing proof for Spanish residents, which will make it impossible for them to visit other countries operating a similar ruling to that of Spain. I can't see why they couldn't have just stamped a card when we got the jab. This would have been so much simpler. Yeah, Robert, thanks for the comment and thanks for pointing that out. I think the Spanish government announced last week that they are going to have an official vaccination card and that each autonomous community here in Spain is also going to have a card, but I don't think it has been released yet. But I imagine it will be up and running by the end of the month, and in order to travel to other countries you will most likely need this certificate. But as I said, it has been announced, and as soon as I find out more about it, I'll let you guys know. One here from Colin: thanks Stuart, Johnson vacillating on Portugal is typical of his administration. Yeah, Colin, thanks for the comment and thanks for the use of that word vacillate. And the decision last week to take Portugal off the green list, add it to the amber list, was a strange one, I must admit. I don't think many people were expecting that, and as I said the other day, it was a huge blow to tourism in Portugal. And I imagine that there are also lots and lots of people from the UK that have had their travel plans destroyed by that decision, not to mention the people currently in Portugal that have had their vacations cut short. So there is a lot of vacillating going on, not only in the UK, here in Spain. It has been endless over the last 12 months or so, and unfortunately it seems to be typical of politicians nowadays. One here from Elena: I felt there were very nice comments and only a few negative. I guess it's how you look at things. Commentators are very upbeat here. Yeah, Elena, thanks for the comment, and I agree with you. Most of the comments are positive. There are always a few negative comments in the comment section, and those are the ones that tend to stand out, but the majority I feel are positive, and that is what I am trying to create: a positive, healthy, upbeat community where we can talk about things here in Spain. One here from Chris: great video as always, cancelled my trip to Benidorm in June. Will I be able to go in July? Totally depressed in UK. Will this ever end? Yeah, Chris, thanks for the comment and sorry to see that you have had to cancel your trip to Benidorm. Are things going to change in July? Don't know. We're going to have to wait for that UK decision on the 28th of June. I think the date is where they're going to revise that green list, and hopefully Spain will have its coronavirus problems under control, will have a low incidence rate, and the UK government will give the green light for travel to Spain. And will this ever end? Of course it will. We just have to stay positive. One here from Fook: went to Magaluf, Mallorca last Sunday for a few hours. It's about 30 kilometers from my home. Mostly Spanish people on the quite busy beach. It was all very civilized and not the ghost town like some media outlets are touting. Yeah, Fook, thanks for the comment. Of course, Magaluf, one of those famous or infamous holiday resorts here in Spain. It's a place that normally makes the press for all the wrong reasons, but it is a popular destination for some. And good to get first-hand news on what's going on there in places like Mallorca, and good to see that there is some activity there is some life, and it's not a complete ghost town. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.